Tonight, when you finally climb into bed, you will probably lie there for a while. Your mind will race. Your eyes will flicker open in the dark. And somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning, you will wake up for no obvious reason, stare at the ceiling, and wonder what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. What you are experiencing is not a sleep disorder. It is not anxiety. It is not the result of too much screen time or too much coffee, though those do not help. What you are experiencing is one of the oldest biological rhythms your species has ever known. And for most of human history, you would have used that waking hour in ways that modern sleep medicine is only beginning to understand. Your ancestors did not sleep the way you do. They slept in two separate blocks, a first sleep, a gap, and a second sleep. Historians call it segmented sleep or biphasic sleep. And for hundreds of thousands of years, it was not broken sleep. It was just sleep. Roger Ekirch, a historian at Virginia Tech, spent over 2 decades combing through diaries, court records, medical texts, and literary manuscripts from the pre-industrial world. What he found changed how researchers think about human sleep entirely. Reference after reference across cultures and continents describes something called the first sleep and the second sleep as naturally and matter-of-factly as people today might refer to breakfast and lunch. These were not exceptions. They were the norm. In a 15th century medical text, a physician advises couples to conceive children between the first and second sleep, noting that the body is most alert and energized at that hour. Chaucer references it in the Canterbury Tales. Documents from colonial America mention it. An account from a 16th century French village describes neighbors casually visiting each other during the gap between sleeps, unhurried and unsurprised. This was life. This was normal. And then something erased it. The invention of artificial light changed the structure of human night more profoundly than almost any other event in modern history. Before the widespread adoption of gas lighting in the 1800s and electric lighting in the 1900s, night was long and dark and genuinely unproductive for most tasks. People went to bed when the sun went down. They slept their first sleep. They woke naturally around midnight. And then they had an hour or two of quiet wakefulness before drifting into their second sleep and rising at dawn. But when the night became lit, it shortened. Bedtime moved later. The gap between first and second sleep collapsed into what we now recognize as a single consolidated block. And within a few generations, the memory of segmented sleep vanished so completely that we began pathologizing its remnants. You wake at 2 a.m. and you call it insomnia. Your ancestors would have called it the watch. Psychiatrist Thomas Wehr conducted a landmark experiment in the 1990s that brought this buried rhythm back into view. Wehr took a group of subjects and removed artificial light from their evenings, limiting them to only about 10 hours of dim light each day for an entire month. What happened next was remarkable. Without any instruction or suggestion, the subjects began to naturally split their sleep into 2 distinct periods: a first sleep of about 4 hours, a waking interval of 1 to 2 hours, and a second sleep of another 4 hours. During that waking interval, Wehr measured the subject's brain chemistry and found something striking. Levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with deep calm and a kind of effortless, meditative relaxation, were elevated in ways almost never seen during normal waking hours. The subjects reported feeling peaceful, unhurried, unusually clear-headed, not anxious, not desperate to fall back asleep, just quietly, calmly awake. Think about what that means. Embedded inside the human sleep cycle is a window, a built-in pause designed not for productivity, not for worry, but for a particular quality of consciousness that modern life has almost entirely eliminated. Your brain does not treat all sleep equally. It cycles through stages throughout the night, moving from light sleep into deep slow-wave sleep and then into REM sleep, the phase associated with dreaming and memory consolidation. These cycles last roughly 90 minutes. By the middle of the night, your slow-wave deep sleep is largely done. Your brain shifts toward longer, richer REM phases. And it is during this transition, in the early hours of the morning, that the ancient waking window tends to open. What your ancestors did during that hour is documented in surprising detail. Some prayed, some meditated, Some talked quietly with their partners in a way they described as unusually honest and intimate, the way people sometimes talk late at night when the defenses are down. Some lay still and simply thought. Some interpreted their dreams, which were fresh and vivid and felt meaningful. Some had sex. Almost none of them worried about being awake. The middle of the night, for most of human history, was not a problem to be solved. It was a private, liminal space. Neither day nor night, neither sleeping nor fully awake. And the brain chemistry of that moment, saturated with prolactin and low on the cortisol that drives daytime urgency, made it feel unlike any other hour of the human day. Anthropologist Carol Worthman at Emory University has spent years studying sleep across non-industrialized societies and has noted that the Western model of a single long, consolidated sleep block is actually the global outlier. Among hunter-gatherer groups in Tanzania, Bolivia, and Namibia, researchers have found flexible, fragmented sleep patterns with no anxiety whatsoever attached to nighttime waking. The Hadza of Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations, sleep in overlapping shifts. They wake and tend fires. They talk. They watch. They fall back asleep. They do not have a word for insomnia. This matters because the way a culture frames a biological experience shapes how that experience feels. When you wake at 3 a.m. in the modern world, you are surrounded by silence, by darkness, by the knowledge that everyone else is asleep, by the implicit message that you should be too. You look at your phone. The light spikes your cortisol. Your anxiety about being awake makes it harder to fall back asleep, and you wake in the morning feeling broken. But your body is not broken. It is reaching for something ancient that the modern world has paved over. There is a practical possibility in this history, and it does not require you to restructure your entire life. Researchers who study segmented sleep suggest that if you wake naturally in the night and cannot immediately return to sleep, fighting it is the worst thing you can do. The anxiety of insomnia is largely learned. It is a modern invention layered on top of a biological rhythm that was never meant to be seamless. What might help, they suggest, is what your ancestors actually did. Lie quietly, let your mind drift. Do not check a screen. Do not catastrophize. Allow the prolactin-rich calm of the watch to do what it was apparently designed to do, which is give your mind a space to process, to settle, and to prepare for the second half of the night. You were not built for 8 uninterrupted hours. That particular expectation is younger than the electric light bulb. For most of the time your species has been alive, the night was divided. There was a first sleep, a quiet watch, a second sleep, and when the sun finally rose, you woke not from a single consolidated block of unconsciousness, but from a rhythm as natural as the tide, shaped by darkness and biology over hundreds of thousands of years. Tonight, if you wake at 3 a.m. and stare at the ceiling, you are not broken. You are ancient. Your brain is doing something it was made to do. It is opening the window. And for a few minutes, in the oldest hour of the human night, it is waiting to see what you will do with the quiet.